Alright, so we're going to show how to create a day class, and this day class is going to have the method to set the day, returns to string of the day, get the day, and also we can do next day, previous day, right? So if I pass Monday, it's going to return next day should be Tuesday. If I pass Monday, previous day should be Sunday. Okay, so, and we can also calculate and return a day by adding certain days to the current day. Like if I adding like 3 more days from Monday, it's going to be Thursday, right? Or we going to do, if the current day is Monday and we add 4 more days, it's going to be Friday, right? You can add 13 more days, right, from the current day. And we're going to have the appropriate constructor with the default, no parameters, and with parameters, right? Now we're going to have to create Java doc for the comments, right, of each method here, A to G, that you generated. We're going to write a program to test the class day in the day driver. So that's pretty much the goal of this. So we're going to create a day class. Okay, so I'm going to name it day, right? And like we said, this day class is, I happen to spell wrong. When you do that, you can refactor the name. Right click, refactor, rename. And we have the attributes, which should be private, if you remember that, as string day. Then we start to create a constructor, which is the default constructor, right? This is called constructor with no parameters. We can start to initialize value of the day, right? So you can just throw in a day, right? Now we have another constructor that the user can pass in the values to initialize. So we use this operator to refer to the attributes, and this is referred to this parameter, right? No, this parameter here. Then the class, when we instantiate, can initialize the values, right? We need the getters and setters. So get pretty much just returns the string type, right? Get day, right? So it's going to return string, which is return the day back. Right, so we need another one, which is set day, which is just like a constructor with the parameter, right? Day, that you want to change the day to the new day, right? And this one actually void, because it's not going to return anything. We just set it. You see, when you have string return, you have to have the keyword return. When it's void, we don't need a keyword return, right? That's the concept of the method. And we need to create 2 string, right, to return the value of, or just print out the value of the day. Then has to return just like get day, right? But we want to return it nicely format, like we can just concatenate it, like current day is or yeah. So that is a day that now we have to consider adding more methods for calculating next day, previous day, right? Now, if we do this way, how would we get the next day? How would we know that next to Monday is Tuesday? We do, but how would you make the program knows? That's why we need to modify this to create an array of day instead, right? So I'm going to create a day class like for day driver with the main to test this one first. Right, so if you look at when we use day, we just say, okay, a day equals to new day, right? Let me just name today then. Today. And today is, we can use the constructor to pass in Wednesday. Now, if we want to print out, we can just call to string. This part should be very simple, right? We have learned this concept. Just like when we did the car class or person class from the previous class exercises. Right. Now, but the tricky part is how do you implement next day? So if I say string, right, next day, it's supposed to return Tuesday, but actually it's not Tuesday because we didn't use the default constructor. We use create Wednesday. It's supposed to return Thursday, but how would I return Thursday? Because the constructor can change into any day, Saturday or and so on, right? So that's a tricky part. How would you implement next day? I would like you to pause this video right at this point and think about how would you do it, and then come back for the answer. It's very important to think about how would you do it first and see how we do it. So now the answer to this is this has to be a group of day. And we said we learned how to make a group of day. We can use an array, right? From the previous session, previous class exercise. So we're going to declare an array of day, and we're going to initialize the values, right? For the day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So array size is 7, index 0 to 6. Now since this is an array, then when you start to get the values, then you cannot do day equals to Monday like that anymore, right? We have to modify the class. We actually need to get an index or somehow, right? For example, let's think about how we're going to define the values, all right, of the index. So we gotta say int, okay, index. So when we construct this, pretty much just you need to initialize your index. And we said index of Monday should be equal to 0. And then the day should have, right, the index. I mean, if you want to initialize that, which you don't have to because by default it's already give Monday initialized to that location already, right? So you pretty much just refer to the index, right? That, hey, this is Monday, right? So you can say comment 0 is Monday, right? Now when the user, if the user passes a string in, right, as Wednesday, then you may want to get the index of that day, right? So how would you get the index of Wednesday? Because we need to set that index here, right? Right. So we need to see, okay, if the user passed Wednesday, it has to return 2. So we have to change to the index. Index is the number. Day is a string, right? So are we referring to this day or this day, right? So we actually have to refer to the array first. Refer to the array, and the array itself has the method name, right? So let's see. That is the characters, right, for that. But array itself doesn't have the method to refer to index. So we need to write a logic, right? So we need to create a method, right? Get index or index of. I'm going to create another method named index of day and pass in the day, right? So this is pretty much going to return the index back and initialize the values back to this index. Index of here need to be created, right? And it should be private. I don't want to share to the user. Like the driver not going to be able to access to it. They just pass like the string. It's private because it's only used inside the class. This is the concept of private modifier. So index of day pretty much pass day in, right? So string day in. So this pretty much has to write a logic to return that index. Right, so pretty much logic is you loop through the day, right? And keep tracking on account. When it's found it, you return. Right. So let's say int is our index, right? Equal to 0, and then you return I, right? Which while I less than the length of the array, we want to loop and start to compare, right? If day, which is referred to, we have to say this dot day, otherwise we're confusing about which one we're referring to. We want to say the length of this day length of the array, right? And the string itself, you see, it's confusing if you don't do that this, right? This refer to this, and length of array. If now we have to say this dot day again at its index I dot equals to the day string. If it's equals, that means we found it. When we found it, we just break out the loop. That's how you just break. That means it's going to return I at that point. It's not going to be no longer to increase the I. If you don't found, it's never getting the if, it's just keep increasing I until the length, which will return, if it's not finding anything that is equals, then you should do something to take care of